to the end of week gold technical analysis video. We're going to be doing a quick one here, and we're going to start right where we left off in our last TA, which was the start of week. As you guys know, we started off our TA last time and we reviewed the information after this candlestick here, and we had a look at what was going on in this section. This is where we left off on this candlestick. So if I go ahead and zoom in for you guys, as you can see, we started off on this candlestick and we established that price had tested this resistance on this trend line that we had ended up marking in, and we expected that price would continue to drop and then come back and test it. If we just go ahead and drag this down now, as you can see, obviously now we've got our break point. Anyway, before we get to that, so as you can see, price ended up coming all the way down from here, exactly what we expected, and price came down to test that level of 62625. We found a support at this level. Obviously, as you can see, price ended up coming down to the first PRY, which was 2640, and then momentum slowed down with price on the lower time frames consolidating and moving sideways. As you can see, we finally found the bottom support, the lowest level of support here at 2625, before price then came up, came back down, came back up again, came back down to test this level again of 6240, and then again 663. I remember us speaking about this a lot in the last TA, and then obviously, as you can see, prices then come down and come up. So before we get into that section, we're going to go ahead and talk about this trend line that we marked in. So as you can see, now the trend line has been invalidated. As we can see, we had the first resistance, then we had the second resistance, the third, the fourth, and now the fifth time. As you can see, if I go ahead and go to the lower time frames real quick, if I go to minute 15 and just go across, as you can see, price did react to this level. Price came up and it slowed down. We had some consolidating momentum around this level before price then became bullish and completely moved on and up through this level. So as you can see, we finally broke through this trend line. So this trend line will now be invalidated. It has no information. It gives us no meaning. So therefore, we're going to go ahead and delete it. And we're also going to go and delete these eclipses where we're marking up this point. So as you can see, price found this support at around 2625, and then price continued heavily bullish with a few bearish drops, but overall bullish momentum. So as you can see, price came from all the way up here, all the way back up to 2672. So as you can see, we had a big, strong bullish move before price then collapsed and became bearish once again, and then begun to trade in between these two levels with the support at 2640 and then a rough resistance at around 260 to 2663. So as you can see, if we go back to our hour one real quick, we're going to go ahead and delete this arrow. We're going to go and zoom all the way in for you and focus roughly what we are looking at right now. If I go ahead and just stretch this out for you a little bit, just make it easier. So this is the information that we're going to mark up. So as you can see, price after this major support was found, we obviously saw this bullish move with price testing this level of 2670 as a major resistance. Obviously, as you can see, the wicks are substantial in this area, meaning on the lower time frames we'll have a lot more information on this, on what actually happens, but overall you can see that this tested as a resistance before price then broke back down, finding a major support at the level of 2640. Price came back up and we tested this level and moved sideways in a consolidating fashion at around 2663, the level we spoke about very much in our last start of week TA video. So prices dropped back down, come back up, tested this level, and then created a higher low. So as you can see, we obviously had the resistance, then the support, the resistance, then the support, and then we had the resistance. And then instead of price breaking down and coming back to that 62640 level to test as a support, price in fact and in turn decided to test the level of a 2655. As you can see, we found a support and then price pushed back up to where these candlesticks finished on this resistance from 2670 to 2667. Price has then touched that level and then has since dropped back down and is now testing the previous resistance that we were just speaking about at 2660 to 2663 as a support. So the previous resistance as a support, what does that indicate to us? We are seeing a break and retest pattern. With 2 minutes left on this hour one candlestick, if we are going to confirm this break and retest pattern, we will see this candlestick come back up to around this level and finish somewhere around here, the same way as these two candlesticks did, with a wick finishing off the candlestick, indicating to us that we are going to see a bullish continuation. If we go ahead and go to our daily candlestick, as you can see, there's only been a few days since where we last left off, but as you can see, price has been very much all over the place. We had a bullish day after the start of week TA, which brought price back up into this sort of range, and then as you can see, the bears ended up pushing down the candlesticks overall, and then eventually the bulls would have pushed it all the way back up, finishing these candlesticks as a sort of like a pinch, if you will. And then the next thing carried out on the Thursday, we saw the same thing. Price pulled down and then ended up finishing roughly. It's still a bearish candlestick, but as you can see, the bulls have had a lot more momentum than the bears. Obviously, the bears have done the initial push down, creating this wick, but the bulls have finished the day with the stronger side, as you can see, because the wicks and the candlestick has finally pushed all the way back up. So as you can see, we're sort of seeing some sort of a reversal now. Price has obviously pushed up this morning. As you can see, we pushed up again to around that 2670 resistance level, and price has then since come back down, and what we're probably going to expect is a bearish continuation. We might see this level touched again of around 2640 before price then works itself out, and we can see what roughly is going to happen. So if we go ahead and go to our weekly, as you can see, we spoke about this last time, we are still in a bullish trend, and we have been very much since a long time ago, what we spoke about in one of our previous TA videos. So as you can see, the last 4 weeks, including this week, have been bullish. Obviously, it's the candlestick that we are currently on is a momentum. The momentum has completely slowed down, indicating to us that we will probably see our next drop. As you can see, we have this trend line marked in on the weeklies. We can go ahead and move that up. Remember, when we mark in trend lines, we're looking for the start, and we're looking to catch as many wicks as we can without going over the body of the candlestick. Obviously, this is as tight as we can get with the trend line near enough on the corner of that candlestick there. We could go like this and try and catch these two wicks here, but as you can see, if I try and do that, we are going to be going through the body of the candlestick, which is not what we want with the trend line. So we're going to go ahead and keep it right on the edge there, almost catching this support here, but we can't put it over, like I said, because of the bodies of the candlesticks. So as you can see, we've had bullish momentum, and normally when we see a bullish trend overall on the high time frames, meaning weekly, we will most likely see some retracements. And as you can see, if I go ahead and just delete this line for you quickly, as you can see, this week has been pretty stagnant, if you will. We've had some bulls, we've had some bears, and made overall candlestick, it looks like the candlestick is going to finish roughly where we started off at the start of the week when it opened. However, obviously, with 12 hours roughly left on the market before we have our weekend close, we could potentially see some big volume and big volatility enter the market, creating a new pattern, a new trend for the market. We could end up seeing this candlestick completely bullish and creating all-time highs, maybe potentially touching around 2700. And we could also see this candlestick break down and give us a test of that support again at 2640. That's enough of the weekly and the daily candlesticks. We're going to go ahead and go down to our 15-minute now and just divulge roughly what is really going on and what we could expect to see next week and for the rest of the day today before the market closes. So, as you can see, we're going to go ahead and look at what we need to look at. We're going to go ahead and look at this information here. So, I'm going to go ahead and mark in a path of what's happened. And remember, we go from wick to wick roughly on each move. It doesn't have to be exact. We don't have to go wick. We just want to see the overall moves of what has been happening. If I go ahead and move that for you real quick, and then go ahead and just enter another path. So as you can see, like we spoke about before, price has tested the same level 3 times this week. Majority of the tests were Wednesday, Thursday, obviously today being Friday. And however, we have now broke out through this level. But as you can see, if I go ahead and mark this in, for those traders that understand candlestick formations and price action patterns, we are looking at a potential head and shoulders pattern. So head and shoulders is pretty simple. I'll explain it in short terms just so I don't have to go too long into it. I don't want to make it about candlestick patterns. I'd rather make this TA about what has actually happened in the market and what we could see in the future. So as you can see, so a head and shoulders pattern is you'll create a shoulder, and then you'll create the head, which is here, and then you'll create another shoulder on the right side after the push up or the push down. A head and shoulders pattern can be a bearish or a bullish move. So basically, a head and shoulders is you get a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. The next shoulder being roughly in the same area as the first shoulder that we created. So what does this mean to us? This means that we will most likely see, for the rest of the day, a bearish continuation. For example, if I go ahead and remove this path for you, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys what sort of scenarios we could see take place today. Not for the rest of the week, not for the next week continuing, but just what we could see today. So we've got our head and shoulders pattern here. We've got our head, we've got our shoulder, our head, and our shoulder. As you can see, we've had a bearish engulfing candlestick here, and we have now got our entry candlestick. So what are we most likely going to see after this shoulders here? We could potentially see price come to this level and then come back and consolidate between the level of 2655 and 2663. We could see a consolidation fashion moving sideways just like that. We could also see, let me go ahead and just get rid of that. We could also see a complete bearish continuation where price comes down to test that rough area of support of around 2640. We could see that happen. And then price potentially perhaps come back up to this level of 2655 and sort of finish around this area. That is if a bearish move takes place today. Obviously, if we go to the higher time frames, remember the higher the time frame, the stronger the information. If we go down to minute 5, we're going to see a lot of different things. We're going to see a lot. We could say on a short term, we're seeing some sort of support found where we found the support after this initial bullish push and then the bearish move back down. We found a support here and it looks like price is testing the same area, but the information isn't as strong as the higher time frames because the higher time frames consist of all of these little candlesticks all put into one candlestick and you get the overall view, meaning stronger information. So we're going to go ahead and go to our hour one. I'm going to zoom right in. We're going to go ahead and delete these eclipses real quick that marked up our head and shoulders pattern. So as you can see, what we just spoke about, we spoke about this candlestick finishing. If we can see a bullish move, we wanted this candlestick to sort of finish around this level of around 2660, acting as a support on these previous resistances of 2660 to 2663. As you can see, that didn't happen. The candlestick ended up finishing bearish with our next candlestick, which is an hour one candlestick. If you think this is a whole hour and we are only 7 minutes inside of this new candlestick. And as you can see, we are already at half the volume of the previous hour. Obviously, you have to take into account that the London session has just started. So volume and volatility has just entered the market, along with some news releases and other things that will have an effect on the market. So what are we expecting to see now? Looking at this candlestick, it looks like this is an entry candlestick. An entry candlestick meaning we've had our bearish engulfing candlestick and we are now looking at our entry. So we've had our 1, 2, and 3 formation on the price action. So we are most likely going to see a bearish move today. Potentially, it could just be a small bearish move. We could just see a fluctuation of around 50, 60, 70 pips today. Or, however, we could see some serious volume enter the market. And we could see it again, like I was explaining on the minute 15, that level of 640 hit. Right, that's enough for what we think is going to happen today. We're going to go ahead and go into our hour 4 candlestick and divulge in what we could potentially see next week. So, as you can see, we are still in this consolidation block. The block that we have spoken about many times in the past with the first support, the first resistance, which was a higher high created at the level of 2625. Looking at price action, we've had big bullish candlesticks, a lot of bullish momentum, and then prices just sort of faded out and it's just sort of moved in a blocky consolidating fashion with the bears eventually taking price back out of where we saw the bullish push. If we see that same price action here, we're most likely going to see this level of the 2663 level as a final test, with price coming down to around this level of 2640 and then just sort of consolidating, potentially breaking through to test the level of 2625, and then coming back up, and we could have some consolidating fashion, or we could see price action completely change and we finally get out of this bullish trend that we are currently in, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, the price of gold increasing, it means a lot of other benefits. There's a lot of other beneficial factors of this in the general world economy. However, if a bearish move takes place, if we see this level of 2625 broken next week, we will see a bearish trend take place. We will see lower lows created and lower highs created, and we will end up being able to mark in our trend lines and all the other levels that are going to mean something to us, and then we can roughly see where roughly the market will end up. So that's going to be our end of week video TA for you guys. As you can tell, most of the general ideas and the general predictions, not predictions, but things that could potentially happen in the market, are bearish. We are most likely going to see a bearish day followed by a majority bearish week, with price going to around 640, potentially consolidating or breaking through the level of 2625 and then continuing on down. So that has been the end of week TA, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure, obviously, you are now watching it on YouTube rather than inside the Telegram. So don't forget to drop us a like, drop us hit the subscribe button, and yeah, good luck next week, traders. We didn't have the greatest week this week, but obviously, as you guys know, it's the consistency in the long run that we look for. And as you guys know from our weekly reports and our monthly reports that you can find on our website or by typing /results inside our bot, you will understand that in the long run, we are always profitable. So yeah, that's been that. I hope you guys have a good week and a good weekend. Don't forget, any profits that you have made, don't forget to withdraw some for yourself and enjoy it. That has been me, Gold Signals. Peace.